Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Amphianne here with another video for you. Welcome to part 6 of What If Izuku Was Majin. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So, we begin. Multiple video screens show the students battling against the robots during the exam. Jiro was going back from working on a project to looking back at the screen. He paused the screen at the time Izuku fired a ball of light at the robot, and Mina threw a punch at the robot. So many different valuable quirks used for heroic activities annoyed him. Although Jiro was paying close attention to Izuku and Mina, Jiro focused his mind on Vami. He couldn't stop thinking about their last conversation. They saw what happened to his son, and what was happening to her. But she decided to leave them after he saved their son, and wanted to do the same for her. Jiro angrily worked harder until he knocked something on top of his head. It knocked off his hat, revealing his brain in a casing. Vami! I can't believe that you left us and decided to become a hero! Jiro stated to himself as he picked up his hat and placed it back on his head. Jiro was cursing at everything that was happening to him until he heard a door opening. Jiro turned his head to see an old doctor walking in. This doctor was the same doctor that talked with Izuku and Inko, Dr. Tsubasa. But it looks like the man didn't age at all. The two doctors looked at each other in irritation as Tsubasa questioned Jiro. So, Dr. Jiro, Tsubasa annoyingly asked. He walked over to one of the pods and investigated it to see if there was anything in it. Jiro noticed he was looking and got in front of him. How is your plan going? Dr. Tsubasa. Jiro irritatingly and smugly replied. Everything is going according to plan. First, I was able to learn about All Might's secret, along with who inherited his quirk. Also, that Pink Boy and Vami have something in common with each other, and they seem to be able to use a multitude of quirks at once. Jiro could hear Tsubasa mumbling how just because you learned something new about the enemies doesn't mean he'll be the superior doctor here. Jiro and Tsubasa never saw eye to eye with each other. Yes, they have different PhDs as doctors. Jiro is a doctor working with mechanical and organic life forms, while Tsubasa is a doctor working with medical. But they believe that they are more important than the other, which is why they don't like each other. That's good, but if you don't mind me asking, Tsubasa asked Jiro. Jiro turned his head to see Tsubasa staring at the pause screen with students using their quirks. Why did you want to spy on this year's students in particular? Don't you see? These students' quirks could be useful to us. I can turn them into an android army that the League would use against the heroes, Jiro stated as he clicked out of the video screen and opened a file with the title Project Android. Tsubasa's expression went from blank to shocked within a matter of minutes. With the creation of man-made machines and the usage of quirks, no hero or villain would be able to stop anything. Ah, I see, Tsubasa nervously replied. He was thinking about Jiro's crazy plan and how it could be a threat to his master's plan. Tsubasa calmly played it off and stated that his plan was interesting. Jiro smiled at the compliment and played the exams again to learn more about what quirks could be helpful. Tsubasa began to walk away from Jiro. He reached out for the door until Jiro called him out. Also, you worked with my wife whenever you talked with that pink boy and his mother, right? Jiro questioned Tsubasa with a severe tone. Why, yes, I did, Tsubasa stated. He turned around to see Jiro with his head down. Silence filled the room as the two doctors stood there, and Jiro finally spoke. How is she doing? Jiro asked Tsubasa. Tsubasa was a bit shocked to hear this from him. After he turned himself into an android, he thought that Jiro had removed his heart and other organs, besides his brain, from him. But he seems to still care for Vami. Tsubasa was about to answer him until his phone rang. Oh, excuse me. I must take this call, Tsubasa stated, removing his phone from his pocket. Jiro waved him away from him, and Tsubasa did just that. Tsubasa walked into an empty room and checked to see if anyone was listening to him. No one was in the room with him as he answered the phone. Greetings, master. How can I help you? Tsubasa happily answered. Throughout the call, he nodded his head to whatever his master questioned. Don't worry. The moment that doctor launches his weird biobug creature out onto the streets and gives young Shigaraki his necessary upgrades, then we'll dispose of him. Tsubasa hung up the phone and exited the structure. However, Tsubasa forgot that Jiro created several small bug camps to use to spy on him. Jiro angrily bangs his fist on the table at what he just heard. So, they want to use my technology and intelligence for them! Then dispose of me, just like I'm some kind of scrap metal! Jiro screamed out at the top of his lungs. He was able to calm himself down as he walked over to the pod with the number 16 on it. On the inside, it showed a red-haired man wearing a green vest with a red ribbon symbol on it. Jiro placed his hand on the pod and promised himself this. Don't worry. Soon the reunion will happen, son. Jiro smiled, then laughed. And the world will fear the Red Ribbon Army once again! A week went by after the events at the UA entrance exam. Izuku was pacing back and forth in his room, waiting for a response from Mina, Aunt Vami, or All Might. He was worried about Mina using One for All for the first time, and was told how it destroyed her body. He was afraid that Aunt Vami would see him try to use a sweet beam on that robot to save the girl, and was going to have her screaming at him. Izuku's mind was going all over the place. Inko stood outside of Izuku's room, hearing him going all around, worried about her son's behavior. She moved back from his door and listened to a knock at the front door. Izuku! Inko cried out. Izuku opened the door to see his mother on the floor holding a letter in front of him. It's the letter from UA! It's here! Izuku's expression became shocked as he grabbed the letter from his mother and closed the door. Inko stood there and tried to listen to what was happening. Izuku stared down at the letter before he ripped it open to see a weird projector dropped on the table. The projector turned itself on, and a video of Vami appeared on the screen.
Is the camera working? Is it? All right.
Vami cleared her throat and began to speak.
Greetings, Izuku Midoriya.
Izuku looked at the video in shock. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Aunt Vami? Izuku screamed out loud enough for Inko to hear. He looked down at the letter to make sure it was from UA. The letter did read UA, and Izuku still didn't believe it. But this is from UA. Wait, does that mean she's... Before Izuku could finish his sentence, Vami began to speak again.
I'm here on behalf of the UA staff to tell you your written and physical exam scores and see if you have what it takes to make it in.
Vami stated, as someone off-screen signaled that she had a few more to do. So, Aunt Vami is working at UA? Izuku thought to himself as Vami sighed as she pulled the screen with Izuku's score.
Now then, let's get down to business,
Vami stated, as she adjusted her glasses. Izuku moved in closer to listen to what she had to say about his scores.
For the written part of the exam, you were able to pass it and placed 4th overall. As for the physical part of the exam, you had a score of 60 villain points, which is more than enough to pass the exam.
I passed? Izuku shockingly answered.
However, there was one factor that most of the students didn't account for. Heroes don't just fight villains. They also save those in trouble,
Vami stated, as a video screen opened showing him destroying the villain's arm and tossing the girl away from the danger.
That's why we'll be bumping you up to 120 points.
Vami smiled as Izuku felt tears running down his face.
Izuku Midoriya, welcome to UA.
Izuku opened the door and saw his mother staring at him. He smiled at her, and she immediately hugged him, saying how she's happy for him. Inko promised to make a big dinner for his achievement. Izuku smiled as he heard his phone go off. Izuku answered the phone to have an excited Mina on the other side.
Hey, Zuzu, guess what?
Mina happily asked Izuku,
My letter came in, and All Might appeared on it and explained how he's going to work at UA.
What? Izuku was surprised. All Might and Aunt Vami will be working at UA? Izuku wondered why they were doing this. Well, he knows that All Might is watching over Mina and her progress with One for All. But why is Vami working at UA?
Yeah, but that's not the best part.
Mina replied.
He went over my exam, and I was barely able to pass the written exam, but for the physical part, I was able to pass it with 90 points from fighting villains and rescuing people, and I made it in!
This video is sponsored by Adobe. Adobe is redefining the digital experience through game-changing innovations that shape the next generation of storytelling. Adobe makes it easy to curate, edit, and share digital documents securely, allowing you to collaborate and communicate across devices. Adobe Photoshop is your go-to application for raster graphics editing and digital art as a whole. At We the Celestials, all our thumbnails across every channel are created with Adobe Photoshop. Adobe Premiere Pro is a timeline-based and non-linear video editing software application that is versatile and easy for beginners and master editors. Finally, Adobe After Effects is the industry standard tool for digital visual effects, motion graphics, and composition applications used in post-production. Many of our voice actors, audio editors, and video editors use Premiere Pro and After Effects to produce these high-quality videos. Click the link in the description to start creating now, and thank you Adobe for sponsoring this video. Izuku congratulates Mina on getting in as well. They are excited they are going to UA together, and they keep talking with each other until their phones vibrate. Then, they look at their phones to see a group message from All Might and Vami. It's read, "Meet us at the beach. We would like to talk with you guys." After Izuku and Mina hung up, they left their apartment and made their way to Tapoka Municipal Park Beach. Once they got there, they saw All Might and Vami standing there, staring at the beach.
Hey, Aunt Vami? All Might?
Izuku and Mina happily said. Vami covered up both of their mouths quietly. As she sternly looked at them, she pointed out that there is a couple here at the beach. After hearing his name, they looked around to see if All Might was there. Vami told the couple that it was just these kids' imagination. The couple was sad as everyone sighed, relieving. Izuku and Mina looked up to see All Might with his hands up and a smile on his face. "Hey, congrats to both of you on passing." All Might high-fived Izuku and Mina. He stated that he saw everything going on and didn't pull any strings for them to be picked. Vami explained how they were able to work at UA and why they decided to. She is going to work at UA on helping the newer students with assisting them in understanding their quirks and keeping a close eye on Izuku. All Might's reasoning for working there was like Vami's reasoning.
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, but something weird happened during the exam.
Mina said. All Might, Vami, and Izuku looked at her in confusion. "What do you mean, weird?" All Might questioned Mina.
Well, whenever that giant robot appeared, everyone was running from it but me. My body would move no matter what I did.
Mina said as she looked at her hands.
I felt the power of One for All flowing through me, but I couldn't move any part of my body.
"Yeah, Vami and I saw that," All Might stated as he remembered that happening. Vami nodded as Izuku looked in confusion. "You just stood there with a scared expression."
Yeah, the weird thing was that I saw a ghostly shadow figure standing in front of me.
Mina said as she thought back to the first time she saw it.
But the ghost looked more human-like and told me not to run.
"That is weird. Whenever I received One for All, I never saw any ghostly figures in my years," All Might said as he looked towards Vami. "Vami, any ideas?" "I'm sorry, but I'm stumped just like you," Vami stated as she shook her head. "Without any proof of what happened with Mina, besides her just standing there, there's nothing I can do about it." Mina put her head down in disappointment. All Might noticed as he patted her on the shoulder and put a thumbs up to her. "Don't worry, young Mina. I'm showing you one day that we'll figure this out. But for now," All Might stated as he transformed into his buff form, picking a can and crushing it. "We'll focus on making One for All your quirk." Mina smiled as the couple finally noticed him and asked him for his autograph. All Might, nervous, looked back and asked Mina to run with him. Mina did so, as Izuku and Vami just watched them run away. As Mina and All Might were running away, Mina felt the same way when she first used One for All. Toshinori, the inner voice spoke. Mina looked beside her to see the figure there again, but the body was more noticeable. The figure looked more female with a ponytail and a cape. Mina kept staring at the figure as it placed its hand on Mina's shoulder and asked her one simple thing as it slowly disappeared. Protect him, please.
Ah, Aunt Vami,
Izuku said as Vami looked back.
I have a few things I need to tell you.
Sure,
Because I must speak with you too.
Vami said. She looked around her to see if anyone was around them. The couple was gone, and there appeared that there was nobody else there. Izuku was about to ask her why she was looking, but he was hit on the top of his head by Vami. Izuku winced in pain as Vami yelled at him.
What the hell were you thinking about using the sweet beam on the giant robot? Do you want everyone to know what you are? I'm sorry, Aunt Vami.
Izuku apologizes, bowing to her, hoping she doesn't do anything to him.
I was just trying to save that girl from being crushed, and I didn't have time to react and chose to use the beam to help.
Izuku looked at his hand intensely and clenched it.
I don't know how I shot that out of me, but...
Izuku stopped when Vami grabbed his shoulder and gave him a smile.
I can't stop you from helping people. You at least tried not to use those moves again.
Vami sternly stated as she grabbed onto Izuku's ears.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Well, on the bright side, we did learn more about you and me. You were able to fire light balls at enemies as an energy blast. And you regenerated your entire body even after being squished. Oh, I have something to tell you and ask about. What is it, Izuku?
Vami questioned Izuku.
Well, a few days after the exam, I was sleeping until I heard a chuckle around me. I opened my eyes to see that I was in a completely different area.
Izuku tried to explain thoroughly.
It was like I was inside of me. It had the same texture and feeling as my skin, but it looked like the inside of multiple caves. I know that sounds weird, but it gets weirder. I walked around the place, and I think I saw something being held in a weird cocoon. I sensed its energy, and it felt like a person. That's not good,
Vami thought to herself as she sweat bullets.
If he finds out that I use people to help control that side of him, then I don't know what will happen.
Vami sighed as she tried to get Izuku's attention.
Izuku, look, there's something I need to tell you. Oh, I'm sorry, Aunt Vami, but that's not the end.
Izuku interrupted Vami's speech. Vami stopped as Izuku continued his dream story.
Whenever I got close to it, I was suddenly punched by an extended pink arm. I looked up to see the arm being pulled back and stopped at something. What was it?
Vami questioned Izuku.
I don't know,
Izuku said as he looked confused.
All that I know was that it looked like a kid that looked like me, and wore those baggy pants whenever you transform.
Vami looked down at herself and wondered about something. Her evil side looked exactly like her. It's probably due to her being half the species Izuku was. Vami broke out of her thought and continued to listen to the rest of the story.
I didn't have time to do anything because that kid began to fly at me at high speeds and laughed whenever it reached me. But before they hit me, I woke up and I was back in my room.
Izuku said as he hugged himself.
I know it has to be a dream, but it felt too real.
Vami thought to herself about Izuku's story. She wants to believe that this happened to him, just as the same as Mina's predicament. But without actual evidence from them, there's not much she could say or do about it. She was thinking about what to do, but Izuku grabbed her attention again.
Also, something else I need to ask you.
Izuku asked Vami.
What's the question?
Vami answered.
Who's Jivo?
Izuku questioned Vami, and hearing that name caused Vami to freeze up in shock. Then, Izuku noticed that she was shaking and asked,
Aunt Vami, are you okay? Please, don't say that name,
Vami stated as she had her head down. Tears began to flow down her face, causing Izuku to worry.
I'm sorry,
Izuku apologized. He slowly walked towards Vami and reached her hand to comfort her.
It's just that whenever you hugged me,
I heard you call me Jevo, and I was wondering why. Vami pushed his hand and noticed that her eyes turned red, and her tone had more venom in it. Izuku, Vami stated, please go. Now! Izuku did what she said and left. Izuku looked back as he walked away to see Vami on the ground crying to herself, saying, I'm sorry. A few days went by after the conversation between Vami, and All Might was all quiet with them. Izuku would try to talk to Vami, but she was ignoring him after the incident at the beach. Vami even avoided him in public. He wishes that he could apologize to her whenever he sees her again. Finally, the day arrived. Izuku finished packing up his bag and adjusting his clothes. Inko walked beside him, making sure that he wasn't forgetting anything important. You got everything? Inko asked Izuku as she pointed out anything out of place on him. Izuku sighed. Yes, Mom. I have to go now, Izuku stated.
Hey, Zuzu, you ready?
Of course, Izuku said as they ran off to the train station. After a few minutes on the train, Izuku and Mina were walking in the park as the cherry blossoms fall, only seeing the UA building on sight. Inko and Mina couldn't believe what they were seeing. I can't believe it. Izuku smiled at the UA building. We made it. Mina punched Izuku on the shoulder.
Yeah, we did.
Mina excitedly said as she punches the air. Izuku laughed at Mina's excitement.
We're gonna become the best heroes, and...
Mina stopped in her tracks, looking at something in front of her. Izuku looked at what Mina was looking at. It appeared to be a spiky redhead boy wearing the same UA uniform.
Kirishima? Why did you change your hair red?
Mina walked over to Kirishima. Mina, you're going to UA too? Also, please don't talk about my hair, Kirishima says as he tries to ruffle his hair. Kirishima explains how him changing his hair means he's going to become a manly person, and that he won't run away from danger anymore. While Mina gave a serious look, and Izuku just watched in awe. Once Kirishima finished, he finally noticed Izuku watching them talk with each other. Kirishima walked towards Izuku and asked, Who are you? I'm Izuku Midoriya. It's nice to meet you, Kirishima. Izuku smiled as he held out his hand to him. Kirishima smiles back and shook his hand. Mina placed her arms around them and stated you two becoming friends already. The three walked on to UA, waiting for what the future holds for them. Thank you all for indulging yourself in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, I'd like to thank our Patreons, BD Flames, Ethan Davis, Terry Chills, Shifter Mealies, Adam Zagil, Zill, XAV Beat 03, and Joshua Phelps. Secondly, I'd like to thank all of our YouTube members, Toy Ascada, Rob the King, Sith Lord 906, CF2364 and Knuckles, Remu Temptus, Angel Geraz, Donald C. Stewart, Bryant Geyer, and Demonized Fox. Thirdly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has you covered. Our We the Celestials My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Fourthly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members from 16 years old to join. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interest by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for new members to join us. Well, that's it for us from today's video. So thank you all for watching and have a great day.